Well, good morning, good evening.
Morning.
Am I audible, everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hello all. Welcome to this course on DB performance engineering. So, as we let's quickly see like what all we will be covering in this course, and like generally what will be the contents, what we will be looking into, and also the benefits what we will get from this course. Okay. You go to the course here. So now, generally, whenever we speak about any performance issues, it's very rarely that we speak or we try to tune the database or the queries, because most of the time it is considered either it is a neglected part which is considered like which is done by the DBAs, or sometimes it's the part which is handled by the dev team. But most of the time the developers are not that much worried about the performance of the databases, because those are like we consider the infrastructure will handle that, uh, just like assumption. But generally it doesn't happen like that. Most of the time the performance issues are not, or we can't resolve the issues by without tuning the database or the poorly performing queries, right? So what do you do that, like during that time, like who will tune the performance of such queries, or who will tune the database? So this course will help you there. Okay, so here you will not only learn how to tune the queries, okay, like queries one by one, or how to cache the poorly performing queries, or which are creating issues, which are bad performing queries, that how to tune them, okay, that we will learn. And not only how to tune the queries, we will also learn how to tune the database, because that is also very important. Because what happens is, generally we sometimes, like the dev team, whoever is handling the SQL part of it, or the query part of it, they will be optimizing it for with respect to the query, or but with respect to the infra, the database, or whatever database server is, the tuning of that database doesn't happen, okay. So that is also very important. So but to tune a database, you need to know the database architecture very well. It's right, like it's just like if you want to repair a car, or if you want to tune a car, you need to know how the car engine works, or how the uh, like how the car works, right? So therefore that you need to know how the database works. So you need to know the database architecture, how the what are the different components in the DB, what we are looking into. And so when we know what is a database architecture, it will be very easy for us to tune it, or to find out the poorly performing part of it, or the poorly performing component of that architecture. So we have designed this course in such a way that, first of all, you will learn all the details of how a query, like generally it is performed, or what are the reasons, like when a poorly performing query, or a bad SQL is there, okay. So how to identify them. Also we will also see how to perform some tuning techniques. So first of all, it is the identification, right? How do you identify that this is a performance bottleneck, or how do you identify that this is the part where the issue is happening, okay. So that we will see. Then we will move on to the techniques of how to resolve it, right? So first is finding, and then it's resolving. So we will be going in that way only in the course content. So first we will be starting with the database architecture and all, to understand how the database works. And for that we have chosen Oracle DB. And in small, like once we complete very extensively on Oracle DB, we will be moving on to the SQL DB also, but very like a short crisp, because we like to accommodate both, we don't have that much of time flexibility also, so that we can cover two DB architectures together. So Oracle DB and its components we will finish. Then we will move on to the SQL DB, maybe a small session, very small. There we will be seeing, like but once you have seen Oracle DB and its components, seeing the SQL DB, it will be very not that tough. Like it will be easier for you to understand the components of an SQL DB also, the MySQL DB. Then we will be moving on to some tuning basics, right? Some, like as I said, like first of all, we need to understand the DB, what it is, what are the components in that. Then we will be moving on to the tuning basics, like what are the wait events, what is an AWR, what is RBO versus CBO, what is a bad SQL, that schema, and some like no need to worry about all these jargons here. All this will be explained properly what it is. And more like after the explanation, more content will be provided to you through the materials which we provide. So you can, after the class also, you can enrich yourselves more on these topics by just reading those stuff there. So because since this is a 20-hour course, so there could be some things which you might need more on, but due to time constraints we are not, like wait events are there. So wait events is a different topic, AWR is there. So it's again an extensive topic. So if you want to read about this more, so these materials will also be provided to you, okay. So in that way you can utilize that. Then again, after that, we will be seeing some execution plans and statistics, like how do we execute our test, how do we perform our query analysis, right? How to generate a statistics, a report sort of thing. That also we will be seeing. Then we will be seeing some advanced concept like tables and index access pathways. Then optimizers, like there are some inbuilt optimizers and tools of Oracle and SQL. Those how to use that, okay, that also we will see. Generally it is generally like even the DBS are the people who use that. Even the dev team developers are not aware there are some tools, inbuilt tools of Oracle DB or whatever DB you're using to optimize the queries. but like since it is not their work to do to optimize the queries and all, they ignore it. So we will see those optimizers, like how to utilize those optimizers, those tools using like effectively. Now after this, like like DB is done, we need to finally tune the query, right? But once you have identified it, once you have planned it, you have executed it, you need to tune the query. So in which all ways you can tune the query? So we will be seeing the query profiling also, which is a very little bit of advanced concept, because there you will see SQL in real action. So there you will be seeing, generally with people with basic knowledge in SQL will understand those, but people who have not at all gone through SQL, or they don't know what even a like at least what is general SQL, some select star, or like they have run some queries, or even not run, I will say, but they have heard of or they have read of what it is, and they understand what is an SQL basics. For them, this will be easier, the seven module. But if it's totally new for them, it will be little difficult for them to understand. So before we reach this part, module 7, at least I will not maybe module 7, at least before module 2 or 3, I will I would want, like, or they can finish reading on SQL part, like what is SQL language. Okay, so they understand this part well. Then advanced indexing techniques are there, and some we will be seeing some advanced Oracle tuning concepts also, like sum sharing and some dynamic statistics. And all. This is the way the course will go. Now, the first thing, so from this, you how it will go. Like first thing is you will learn what is an SQL tuning and why we need it. Okay. Then you will learn what is Oracle DB architecture, and also the MySQL architecture in a small sense by the performance aspects. So we will not be seeing as a developer aspect, but as a performance or a performance engineering aspect. Okay. Then Uh, after that, you will obviously know, like, what is the SQL tuning basics that you will learn. So some basics of SQL tuning. Then once we know that, we will be moving on to like, see, when you see a query, when will you decide whether a query is bad or good? That also we will see. Like how to know by seeing the query. Okay, this query is not performing well, just by saying it's taking a lot of response time, or just by saying the elapsed time is so high, we can't say that it's a poorly performing query, because there could be reasons, right? Like if there are a lot of data coming in, or there is the partitioning is not proper, or some other issues. Okay, some key issues, so that we need to find out why it is. So that is a good question which we need to understand. So when to decide whether a query, like we need to tune a query or not, like what is a bad SQL. Okay, then we need to know how to design a better table and a better partition, how an SQL code is processed, and what is an optimizer. So these questions all will be answered in this course. Also you learn so what is like we will see some Oracle database, some queries with some execution plans, right? So in this way, you will be handling overall all this course is fully into the DB. So here, if you see, there is one major difference. We won't be focusing much on traditional performance testing tools like Jmeter or LoadRunner. You'd have seen, like, if any performance engineering course is there, little bit of that tool will come every time. But here we won't be needing it, because here it is a DB performance engineering. But just to add, like to run some queries or to pump in more data, to add the load, you can obviously use those tools. But here we are more speaking about the uh, profiling part, right? And also the tuning part. So here it is more on the code level or the DB level. So there it's not about the load or what we are interested in, but the queries. Okay, right? Queries or the DB, what we are trying to tune. So the traditional tools won't be required here much. Yeah, that's the point which I wanted to call out. Yeah, so now the prerequisites. First of all, as I said, basic knowledge of SQL is needed, because it's not I won't say it is a beginner level course, or even not once we cross the DB architecture, and when we move on to the query profiling, I will say it is an advanced performance engineering course, not even intermediate, because here we will be seeing the query analysis, the code profiling. So here you will be more closer to the dev team. Like it will be like you need to think more on like a developer, but the knowledge of SQL what is required is basic. You don't need to remember anything, or because finally you need to develop onto what we have learned from here. So once you have finished this course, or once you're doing the course, you can keep on learning and learn to write some good queries, how to run that. We will be showing obviously how to write some basic queries to get those data, because it's SQL, right? So if I need to get some data, I need to write small queries. So that queries, obviously some snippets and small queries I will be giving, which you can use in your real project also. But if you learn SQL, it will be easy for you to write it on your own, to modify those queries in your way, or in whatever way you need in later on, right? So that way it will be helpful. So you need to know SQL, you can learn SQL now also. There's still time, like at least I think 4 classes we have time, 4 5 classes, so you can learn SQL. And always also, like during the 4 5 classes we don't need SQL that much, so you can attend the class and learn SQL at the side by side during that day. That also you can do. Yeah, and so one more thing. So here, the prerequisite mainly SQL. Other thing is like little bit of testing background is good, and also the performance background. If you have, that's more better, because then you will understand some some jargons which we use in performance. So in that way, it will be useful for you. Otherwise, there are no much prerequisites. Only thing is here we will be covering Oracle and MySQL DB only. So here we won't be covering anything much on MS SQL or other DBs. There are a lot of DBs available in the market. So, but these are the two most common used DBs, which is Oracle and MySQL. Because if you see the market trend also, the market captured by these two are very huge. So that's why we have chosen these. And others are also pretty much similar. Okay, there will be small changes in the way things are processed, maybe in the MS SQL and Oracle, or if you compare to other DBs with the Oracle. But generally, the components and the way the caching and all those things work will be common. So if you learn one or two DBs, and the other DBs, when you start learning on your own also, it will be very simple for you. And always, if you are learning on your own, and if you come into some problem or questions, you can contact me anytime later on also. So there won't be an issue there. Yeah, so that's about the course. Any question, anyone, about the course content?
Which testing tool will be used to generate the load?
Yeah, so it's just if you want to generate a load, you can use any tool, LoadRunner, Jmeter, whatever you want. It's just the load, because here we are not worried about, as I said, the low, like here we will be seeing more sort of how to tune a query, right, in the code level. It's not like, okay, under the load what will happen. Under the load also, generally, like it's very, I meant like that. If you see some query, okay, under the load it is performing very bad, so obviously it is a DB, right, which you need to tune, which we will always obviously see. So the load requirement is not there here as such, but here the DB engineering happens. So load you can generate by any tool, whatever you want, JMeter, LoadRunner, in real scenario. There's no limitation there.
So do we teach ADDM report also?
What? Sorry, Naveen. What was the question? Can you speak little loud?
Do we teach AWR report with ADDM?
Yeah, correct. So AWR we will be seeing, and so how to generate the report and all. Yes, we'll be seeing.
Okay.
And also one more thing, like this is like if you are already into DB development and all, maybe this won't be that much, because it might look like this is more sort of a engineering side, right? So development won't happen much. So the developers might think, okay, there is not much, because this is purely for people into testing or engineering, right? So we are not going to develop anything. So this, so please, like, just to know, like, the expectation shouldn't go wrong, right? So that's why I'm saying. So if you are from a development background, this might look okay. There is no much development happening, or for a developer, this course might not help that much, because they obviously will not sit and tune things, because they need to develop things. But this is more sort of more, our course is inclined towards tuning, or what we say, engineering or testing, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. Any other questions, anyone?
I have a questions.
Yes.
Um, uh, yeah, it's just that like I'm just currently I'm working in the cloud-based technology like in the AWS time stream DBs. So will
Hmm.
this sorts of techniques and all will also be applicable there also? Like can I use those things?
Yeah, so there, the only thing what will change is if you are using some NoSQL DBs, or so the type of DB what you're using might change, because there are Dynamo DB, different DBs are there, right? In AWS. So like what happens is, in those sense, the DB architecture tuning what we learn here for Oracle DB might not work there, but the other things will work, like the query, the other SQL tuning we are doing, no, that will work there.
Okay.
If,
So when with this
yeah,
course, so with
yeah,
this course like creating indexes, hints, like all
correct.
these things. Okay.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
correct.
And like in this course, can I also get this like list of the real-time issues that we used to get it and the resolutions for those issues? Like we
Yeah,
will get
so
it
for
right.
that, correct. So what I will show you something. In this course now we have created a DB for you all, so there won't be any issue. You can, there's a demo DB we have created. I will open that. I'll be sharing this to everyone, so you can download and install it. Let me start it. I'll show you one small like we'll be doing this during our course, but for now, just to show a demo, I will show you what all we'll be doing. So this is the DB we have created. It's a virtual machine on VirtualBox. So directly you can download the virtual machine and install it. It has the this is generally a demo DB application used by many people, so you can also use it. I will give you the link also. So that's why I said here we are not just seeing into what is happening, or we are doing here hands-on also. Like we have a database, we run the queries, we try to generate the requests, or we try to understand the working of it by in real time running the queries in the database. So this course is modeled in such a way. So you also have, you'll be provided also a database to work on, that to play around. So yes.
What is the overall course duration for this one?
Yeah, it is basically we have planned for 20 hours, but generally it might stretch, like sometimes based on how the interaction is with the class, right? If they generally 22 to 23 hours you can expect.
Okay, it is based on weekend or like it's an weekday on a regular basis.
Generally, regularly weekdays, weekends it is off. Um, uh, but yeah, so if sometimes if someone wants to change the time, or if majority people say like we need in the evening or not in the morning or something like that, we always are flexible for that, based on everyone's like majority, like what majority says.
Okay.
Also, if some Saturdays if they want to take, so that if we can finish the course little early, that also we can plan based on the majority.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, do we teach here like what we need to keep SGA, PGA, and what will be the CPU utilization and memory utilization based on the load?
Correct, correct. Yeah, yeah. So we will be tuning. So here's that's what. So what I'm saying here is those things, right? I can show you just in an half an hour session. That's all. But here, that's what I'm saying. So here the mindset should be that we are going little ahead of that infra thing, right? We need to come
Yes.
out of that. Yeah, like CPU utilization, showing the RAM utilization or memory utilization. It is like very common way of showing any testing, right? So again, it's testing. So here we will be more looking into the how shift left testing happens. If anyone heard of shift left, I guess many would have heard, right? Now it is becoming popular in the industry. Shift left, shift left. Anyone heard
No, I
about it?
haven't. No,
Okay,
I
so
haven't.
what is shift left? Shift left is now one thing, like everyone is looking into people who are more into engineering, right? Performance engineering, not testing. Now, performance engineering, when you go, it's not in the performance environment. It happens from the development environment and maybe during the planning stage itself. Okay, so this is called shift left. Like you are shifting left. Like performance environment, if you consider it is the right, you are going into the dev environment. Getting my point? So you're shifting left. So you're coming down further. Like you are starting your performance analysis from the development environment itself. Now in the development environment, is there any use if you run Jmeter or LoadRunner or any tool? Anyone? Because the infrastructure is not similar to the performance or the production, right? So if you run there, is there any use like with respect to the infrastructure? No, right? So there, what tuning should happen? The tuning, what will happen there will be the code level tuning or the code profiling, or we will find out the poorly performing APIs. Those things happen there. The unit level, or we can say the fundamental level testing. So that is what is performance engineering as such. Not so when we move away from development to the performance environments, in performance environments, but doing performance engineering becomes little difficult because the performance engineering is not more on the infra side but rather on the code side, right? So that's why we need to start from the dev itself. So this is called the shift left. Yeah, so now the question is CPU yeah, we can find like what is the server utilization, what is a CPU, what is a memory, but that is again a basic for with respect to this course. Okay, and that is like usual thing we will surely. But what we are more interested here is to understand the query, is to understand the bottlenecks in the query executions, right? More on that side.
Okay.
Am I clear, Naveen?
Yes, yes, you're clear. And one more thing, apart from the development, some of the OOTB functionalities will consume lot of database. We are not sure why it is consuming.
Yeah.
So can we get that also? Like we want to know the root cause why it is taking.
Okay, so what was that? Can you speak little loud? Because I think your voice on I think my side I'm not able to hear you. Not sure, but
No, I'm sorry. I'm
yeah.
saying like some of the OOTB functionalities from the application end
Okay.
will use lot of data. Will use lot of database resources actually, and we are not sure why it is happening. So can we get that root cause also for such issues?
Okay, so yeah, so once you like, I will show you how the resource is affected by these queries, surely. So once you know that, you can do that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me show you one thing. So this is a sample demo application, okay, which we have installed. It is a one-click application, so you don't have to set up Oracle SQL Developer, or you don't need to set up this DB. It's a very long way to do that, okay, to set up those. But since setup is not required for our case, so we have done that. We have reduced your work for that, okay. So we already have given you a DB to work on it, to play around. This you can use. Now I will show you small. Now I have used this DB multiple times, so I am remembering these things. But no need of remembering and all. Once you start using it, you will slowly start remembering it all, like the names and all. So for now, I want to show you like how we do some stuff here in real time. We'll be seeing these all in detail as we progress. But since this is a demo session, so I wanted to show. So that's why. So this is like I will say what uh, something on your resume very advanced. Okay, so if you go with this, like the opportunities are huge, but people like they get worried by seeing the queries. But it's very simple, nothing much, which I will be showing. Yeah, so somewhat like this, we will be running the queries. We will understand what is the duration of the queries, like what is elapsed time. This is one basic table, okay. But we have more also, like if like to understand like what it is. We'll be seeing like there are multiple columns. There will be multiple columns to understand the partition and different stuff, okay. So we'll be demoing that. We'll be showing you all that. And also I'll be sharing all these queries which I use, okay, with you all, so that you can also use it directly in your analysis. That also we'll be showing. So this full demo application will be shared with you. So that is one thing which you can play around. And this, before we go into writing these queries, we'll also be seeing this how we have written it, so that you can also write it, okay, as such. And here there are some jargons like that, what is $SQL and all. So no need to worry, like these things, what it is, we'll be explaining all that. I'll be going through all this in detail once we jump into the course. So this, you don't want to waste more time on that. Yeah, so that was regarding the demo application, so on which we will be doing our hands-on when as we move ahead with the course. Now let's so any question till now, then we will jump into the course now. First we'll be starting with, yeah.
Hi, this is Manu. Is there any trace analysis also? Actually, we are using SQL servers only. While running any load test, we are taking the traces of 0 trace and 2-second traces. I need to explain a trace analysis, how to, after completion of the trace, I need to do that trace analysis for that. I'm not aware of that. Is there
Okay.
any
So
topic for that?
we'll be seeing something called execution plan auto trace. That will be that will give you all the like the traces, like how because when a query is executed, it has different steps, right? So those steps you can print it out in the Oracle itself, or the SQL developer tool itself. So that will allow you to find out which step is taking more time, or in that way, the trace. Yeah, that we will be seeing, yes. But that will be in this part, the module 3, execution plan and statistics is there, right? In that.
In the traces, normally which query it will be taking at the high time? Is there any inline queries it will be taking that?
Yes,
That type of the
correct.
details will be right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So any questions, anyone? Okay, so before I jump into the Oracle DB, let me give a quick overview. If like if there are some people who are not aware about it, just to for their awareness purpose, what is the DBMS? Okay, so what is the database management system? So generally, database management system, it's basically like an application or a software to manage the database, right? So from the name itself. So what is manage the database? So generally like to update some data, to retrieve some data, to create or modify the definition of the data and all the stuff. To do that, we have this software. Okay, so that is called the DBMS. We say the database management system. Even the user administration, right? Because what happens is there will be multiple users who will be working on that database, so the access levels and all those can be controlled, okay, using this DBMS. So that's why any database we have, it will have a DBMS. But only problem with the DBMS is it will also add one overload to that, like there will be a small overhead, because what happens is obviously it's a software running on the server, right? So it will have a small utilization, right? Or the amount of resources it will use will be little higher compared to a standalone. So but yes, we need it because we need to do all this stuff on the DB. Now the main advantages of DBMS is mainly, first of all, it is redundant, okay, because it can control it can control the redundancy, like how it like you can store the data in one single database file, okay, and also like it can be like also we can record the data and place it in the database in whichever location we want. So those things can be done. Data sharing is possible. The maintenance becomes easier. Okay, the data maintenance. Also the development time, the maintenance time also reduces. So it will reduce the time also. So in this way, DBMS helps you. Okay, and also backup. Like there are many DBMS which provide automatic backup also. So if some issue happens or some failure happens, you can restore the data easily. Also multiple users, you can like multiple user interface is possible, right? So that is again advantage of DBMS. And as I said, a disadvantage is, first of all, the hardware and software cost, because you're using some software, you need to pay that for that software. If you want to use it for commercial purposes and all, there are different licensing and pricing formats. Also the hardware cost, right? Because since it requires like more the speed you need for processing the data, you need large memory size, like more CPU and all those stuff. And also the size, like since it is a database, right? DBMS, it occupies a lot of disk space also. Like when you install a DBMS software, there is a specific disk space which is utilized for that purpose. So that is also there. And the complexity, because if you have a DBMS, though it is adding a lot of functionality to our data, but what is happening is it will also add additional complexities which we need to learn, right? Like before we can use it. So complexities will increase, but once you have learned it, once you know how to use it, it becomes simpler. Okay, so it makes your life simple. Then higher impact of failure is there. What happens is uh, now what happens if, let's say, a database is damaged, okay, or due to some database corruption or some electric failure, then the data might be lost forever. So here nothing is happening to the data, but the database, like if something happens to the database, then there could be failure, right? Because things can go, you can't retrieve the data. But see, yeah, if you have automatic backup in some other locations, now there are multiple concepts, right? Like you can have a different zone, since we are going on to cloud and all. For that failure only, people keep different zones and all. So in that way, you can uh, reduce your failure. Okay. So this is about the DBMS. Now this Oracle, this MS, MySQL, and all are this DBMS. So these are used to manage our database. So anyone, any doubt what is a DBMS? Because next we will be seeing what is Rdbms. And this is for people who are like, okay, like they're hearing about the database management system now, and not much on that. So for those, I'm just giving a quick overview. What is DBMS and Rdbms? Yeah. So now let's move on to Rdbms. So DBMS is the most basic form of database management system, and there are different types of DBMS. Okay. Out of that, one majorly used DBMS, Rdbms. We call it Relational Database Management System. Okay. Now, what is Rdbms? Now, most of the data modern database management systems like SQL, MS SQL, then IBM DB2 or Oracle, if MySQL, Microsoft Access, all are based on Rdbms. Okay. Now, why this relational database management system is because this DBMS is based on the relational model. Okay. Now, what is a relational model? It is nothing but the data is represented in terms of rows in Rdbms. So there are rows for, like, if you should have seen, because now whatever database you would have seen majorly, it will be Rdbms. So you will be you would have seen these rows there. So this is the concept of Rdbms. You'll have rows. I'm saying it in a simple way. Okay, and those rows we call tuples also sometimes. Data is especially like they represent the data in terms of tuples or rows. So you'll have different rows, so and columns will be there, and there will be one key which we call the primary key. So if I show you any table, yeah, so if you see here, so this id is there, right? Whatever we are seeing, this id, this is called the primary key here. Okay, let me expand it. Okay, and whatever these rows are there, we call it tuples. Okay, and these columns, so this is the way our Rdbms will look like. So generally, this is the architecture. We can say how the data is arranged in a Rdbms. Now there are different types of other database also. Like if you see, there are NoSQL databases. Okay, so it's a totally different concept, new concept. Okay, now those databases are used for different purposes, like for storing lot of serial data and all. We use key store NoSQL databases. But that is not at all relevant here in our case, because generally Rdbms is very used, as I said, like it's in most of the databases systems they use Rdbms. So if you know Rdbms, most of the 90% work is done. The other NoSQL databases, you can obviously, to upskill yourselves, you can learn later on. But generally, by learning the Rdbms tuning itself, things will be more clear. Yeah. So now let's move on. So any question from Rdbms, anyone? Okay. Yeah. So now first, now we will be jumping into the module 1, which is the DB architecture module. We have seen like how